Hi, this is Stephen Russell Hart, lead singer of the group Troop, and you know I got soul.
The Wedding Singer, your new album, just came out today. Can you kind of introduce us to the project a little bit?
Yes, The Wedding Singer is my second solo effort. It's a love album. It's an album for people who are in love. It's a tribute to nostalgic R&B, a classic R&B album. I stuck to the program of the kind of music that I was raised on. You know, the Jacksons, you know, Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, Commodore. You know, I stayed in the vein of the music that made me feel good. And the album is, you know, it has wedding songs on it. It has songs, you know, where a man realizes that he has a good girl. You know, it's all based on love.
Okay, cool. And of course, you have the new single out, Shelter. Do you think that type of single represents what the whole body of work is like?
Yes, I think it opens it up in a really good way. It gives you a perspective of where I'm headed, and lyrically, my content, my flavor, my sound. I think it's a perfect example of what to expect from the rest of the album.
Okay, cool. Now, when I spoke to you a couple of years ago when you put out your first album, you kind of mentioned that on that album, those songs were kind of songs that you held on to throughout the years, and then you put together a project. Was that the same approach with this one, or did you record everything in a time period?
80% of this album was recorded in a time period, and the other 20% were songs that just fitted perfect. You know, certain songs people miss for a reason. And the same thing with this album. I had a couple songs that were just absolutely amazing that Chris Brown or Charlie Wilson missed, and it was just perfect for this album.
Okay, cool. And, you know, along with your solo stuff, I know you've been working with your group, Troop, on some new music. Bring us up to date with that project and what we can expect.
Okay. Yes, we're working on the new Troop projects. We just released 3 compilation albums in the past 3 months. Our first compilation we released is called Troop the B-Side, and it's a compilation with a brand new, never heard before Troop single called Why You Leaving. The second compilation is called Troop the Slow Songs, and with a new unheard Troop song called Unfriendly. And the third compilation is called Deeper Revisited. I actually reproduced and remastered a lot of the songs from Troop's third album called Deeper, and this is called Deeper Revisited. I revisited that album because the fans didn't get a chance to really embrace it the way they want, because Atlantic took it out of stock.
Yeah.
Print.
Yeah.
Over the years on Facebook, and, you know, you hear from the fans directly, and so many people told me how much they love Deeper. So I decided to put it back in circulation so whoever really loved that album can get it again. But we have a new single on that album called Disappear and Gots to Be. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I think I heard a song by Troop last year, which was produced by Hit Boy, right?
Yes, called Forever, yes.
Yeah, and that's something that I've always noticed about you, is that you kind of like working with the younger generation and bringing them along, like Luke James, Hit Boy, James Fauntleroy. So how important is it for you to work with these young people?
It's crucial because, you know, music is youth in a certain area. You know, they consider you old and washed up after you get in your prime, you know what I mean? So I have to make sure that I keep my ear to what's fresh and what's young. And with people like Luke James and James Fauntleroy and Hit Boy, it just keeps me so fresh as a writer-producer. It just keeps me grounded and fresh, you know, where it allows me to stay current, you know, instead of just being stuck in old-sounding music. It allows me to stay fresh.
Yeah, and I just wanted to talk about Luke James and James Fauntleroy for a bit, because I know you played a huge part in their early careers and developing them. So with Luke, did you kind of see that potential in him?
Oh, yeah. Luke is a complete superstar, and I saw that early on, you know, early on with him. He was in a group called Luke and Q, that the Underdogs, we had them signed to us. and we were developing them and working on their music. So I've watched Luke. Luke used to sit around when we were writing songs for Chris Brown and Jordan Sparks and all these big people. He wouldn't say anything. He would just sit in the room like a student and just soak up everything. And when we finally, he got his first placement with me, I knew he had sat around us long enough to know. So I was the first person at the Underdogs to bring him in and write songs with him. And we got a couple really nice placements together. And he developed into an excellent songwriter and artist, yes.
Yeah, and then James Fauntleroy as well. Like, he's probably, I would say, one of the biggest songwriters in music right now. So what did you kind of see in him from the beginning?
Well, I saw that he was very, very fresh. I saw that he was very, very innovative with his writing. You know what I mean? I saw that he was very innovative with his writing and his writing style. He had something very special. Every now and then somebody comes along. Sometimes people come along and they have a special, like out of the Jacksons, that Michael was special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And James Fauntleroy was like that. Early on, he watched the way the veterans were writing songs, and he's so talented until he just took that old juice from us vets, and man, he took it and mixed it all up into a little stew, and he just became a monster writer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then for you, working with these young people, what do you think you kind of bring in? What do you kind of try to teach them when you're writing with them?
Well, I teach the younger writers how to be finishers. I teach them that there's a perfect way to say what you mean to say. Like, I teach them that average is no good, that it has to be great. I fight for line. I can be writing a song with someone and we'll be writing the second verse, but I'm still on the first verse making corrections. You know what I mean? So they get from me the essence of completion and what really makes a song different from an average song, from an album cut to a hit song. They definitely get that from me.
Okay, cool. And one project that you worked heavily on that a lot of people still talk about is Tank's Love, Sex, and Pain album. So can you just kind of talk about the work that you did on that project?
Sure. I wrote and produced a song on there called Who That?
Yeah.
And the rest of the songs I co-wrote with him and the other guys in the Underdogs. Who That is the only song I actually produced. But that was a great, great experience. I worked on, every song. We took our time, and being a fan of Tank's, we were able to put our heads together and come with something that we felt like could launch him in a mature adult level, in adult sense. We had a great time working on that album. Tank is such a talent. He's like a piano genius. He's a great songwriter. So, it took a few months and just really put in nonstop 24 hours, 7 days a week work putting that album together, and it turned out to be a great piece of work.
Right. Cool. And then another song that you did that I'm a big fan of, it's the Charlie Wilson song, I Can't Live Without You, which I know was a Glenn Lewis song initially. So can you talk about the history of that song?
Yes, we were working on the Glenn Lewis project, and for some reason it didn't pan out to be for him. And at the same time, we were working on songs for Ruben Studdard and Charlie Wilson. And we felt like once we started working on the Charlie record, we felt like Just Can't Live Without You would be something that would give him a fresh element, give him a fresh look as a veteran. And that's what made the decision. Once he recorded his vocals on it, we knew that we thought we wrote the song for Glenn Lewis, but we were really writing it for him.
Oh, okay, cool. And, one of the latest placements that you've had is the Tamar Braxton song, All the Way Home. Can you talk about that song a little bit?
Yes. We were, myself and the artist Seven, we were just trying to come up with something that sounded fresh. And you know, we didn't want to. Tamar is such a wonderful singer. We wanted to give her something that people could grab onto and relate to, and to show her vocal ability and her sensibilities. And that's what we were aiming for with that song, something really sweet and simple and easy to remember. And that was the goal for that song.
Okay, cool. And the reason why I mentioned all of these songs is because it kind of relates to your project in that a lot of your records are really heartfelt. It's real emotion. Is that kind of what you try to aim for when you're writing a record?
Well, you know, I'm a very emotional person. You know, I was raised with, I'm a man, but I was raised by my mother, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm a man-woman, you know. I'm a male version of my mother.
Right.
And, you know, we're just very emotional people and very expressive. So everything about my music has passion because I'm such a passionate person. And it does spill over into my music and my writing. Everything that I do is filled with passion and emotion and stuff. You know, it's something I can't help. I came up listening to Michael Jackson and Howard Hewitt and Babyface. You know, and those guys, everything Michael sings, you believe him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every word that comes out of his mouth, you believe it. And so growing up singing after guys like that, it just almost becomes a part of your DNA.
Right. And with the other thing, you know, I noticed that with the Underdogs and yourself, you know, you guys did some EDM records last year as well, like on the Sierra project. So was that kind of, what was the creative process like for that, creating an EDM record?
Well, you know, we knew that we needed to go in a different direction for somebody like Sierra because she's such an entertainer. So, you know, we call in, you know, we like to deal with people who are geniuses at what they do. So, you know, we brought in a couple people who were excellent at the EDM stuff. And, you know, we just add our, you know, our professional flavor to it with the lyrics and the melodies, and it turned out excellent. You know, without vision as a producer, you have such a short-lived career. So when we're getting an artist like Sierra, you know, we listen to the radio and we see what's hot, and we just make a balance because we don't want to copy verbatim everything that's out, but we do want to be just as fresh as what's going on. And so that's what prompted us to take that direction.
Okay, cool. And do you think we'll expect more EDM records from you guys, or are you guys just going back to the R&B stuff?
Well, on the new Troop album, The Return album is going to be the complete album with 9 or 10 new songs. We're definitely going to have dance records, and we're going to touch a little bit on all of it. You know, Troop, we still dance like we did when we were 20, so
yep.
we're definitely going to have some of that stuff on our album.
Okay, cool. So, you know, aside from your project and the Troop project, who else have you had a chance to work with?
Well, right now, currently, I'm in the studio doing a remix to my single Shelter, and it's a remix featuring Keith Washington, Howard Hewitt, Elliot Yamin, Al B. Sure, Joe Little from the Rude Boys, and myself. It's like a secret garden. You remember Secret Garden?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a 2014 version of Secret Garden, but it's the remix to my single. I'm actually working on Howard Hewitt's new project. I have his new single called Better Guy. You'll be hearing that pretty soon. I just finished working with Faith Evans. I have a beautiful record on her called Thank You, Good Night. I'm working on actress Keke Palmer. I'm recording an album with R&B diva Michelle A. from R&B Divas LA. I'm recording her album as we speak. So I'm just staying busy, you know, just staying as busy as I can.
Cool. So with your current project, The Wedding Singer, how do you kind of measure success nowadays as opposed to back in the Troop days?
Well, it's so much different. You know, to be honest, I measure success. When I saw The Wedding Singer up on YouTube this morning, on iTunes this morning, it was success. To be totally honest, that was success.
Okay.
For me.
Cool.
You know, the fact that the work is finished and the work is up for people to admire and see, that's success. If I measured myself and my success based on people's response to it, you know, a lot of times you'll be let down, you know?
Yeah.
So the success for me is having the tenacity and having the audacity after all these years in the business, to have the nerve to do a solo album and be proud of it, that's successful.